there's just no comparison. And you've got to give your clients a cinematic experience. You've got to give them the best experience you possibly can. So, if you're doing an in-person sale, or even if you're doing it on Zoom, you just can't beat what ProSelect has to offer. And it's where the client gets, that feedback from who they are and what you've created for them. You've got to make it incredible.
Hey, and welcome to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And there's 4 of us on today, and we've a really exciting topic. You've probably seen it in the headline. Why are so many photographers tight asses?
Say it properly. Come on, Jeanine, say it with an American accent.
Tight ass?
Tight ass.
Over here, they'd be tight arses.
Yeah. And it's something we see all the time, and we're sure if you're a tight ass, you've probably done profit first. You've probably done profit first, and you're just trying to save money, right?
So it's your fault, Ronan. It's your fault.
It's all my fault. But there is another side to this. That's a serious side, in that nowhere in Profit First do we talk about you don't have to invest in your business, right? And there's certain tools that you need in your business to be able to have a business. And I think it's important that we talk to some of those, right? Because it's a mindset, Steve, right?
It's a block, more even so than a mindset. So you want me to go? I was just making a list of all the different. I was starting to make a list of all the different things that I see where that would fit that category. And I think this all blew up because we've seen some interaction on Facebook about ProSelect now not supporting a program that was written decades ago.
Many moons ago.
And people don't want to pay for a subscription to renew it. But the reality is that it's an incredible piece of software that helps people make money. It's not where you need to be skimping. Or I've seen a lot of, when I'm doing sales workshops or visiting studios, they're using Lightroom to sell or try to sell on. And the reality is that it's costing so much money not to have a proper sales tool. And if we're in business and we've turned pro because now we're earning a living, meant to be earning a living, we need to have the tools that we need to be able to sell. And ProSelect just is one of those tools that is the moneymaker in the business and it's the one thing that gives the client the most experience, the most interactive experience that they have, because when they get to see their photos, when they get to see their children up on a screen, that's where they get the most interaction, and you've got to make that amazing. So, it all started with that, I think, today.
and Steve, but there's an important fact, like in what you've designed as a design consultation and the cinematic experience, and I've seen nothing that even comes close to it anywhere else in our industry. Like ProSelect is an important tool to make that happen, right?
It is. It totally is. So, and through the thread, a few people made some suggestions for people to have a look at different software which is cheaper. Oh my God, they are terrible. Like I went in and had a quick look, and you can't even compare. And I haven't looked at everything, but the ones that people were sharing that are meant to be an option, there's just no comparison. And you've got to give your clients a cinematic experience. You've got to give them the best experience you possibly can. So, if you're doing an in-person sale, or even if you're doing it on Zoom, you just can't beat what ProSelect has to offer. And it's where the client gets, that feedback from, who they are and what you've created for them. You've got to make it incredible.
think it goes for any business and any tool though, because like we had this experience, right? I think sometimes when you try and do things on the cheap or cheaply, right, you end up costing yourself more money in the long run, right? So I remember Ronan, when we started 3XM, initially we had a laser machine that we got that was from China somewhere or something, and it was the biggest hunk of junk I've ever seen in my life. Oh, goodness gracious me. And it actually ended up costing us more in the long term than if we had just paid for the proper piece of kit that we actually needed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Jonathan. And that's a great example of it, you know?
We see it everywhere, not just in any of that. Like, you go into a studio and you say, why did you put this up? Like, why is that your display? And often the answer is, well, I ordered it by mistake and I had to pay for it. But it's killing sales. That wall is better off having nothing on it than putting up a sales killer that is killing your sales. The same thing true. You know, I had a client who was paying for a salesperson, and the salesperson wasn't trained properly, didn't have a great attitude, but I'm paying for that person. It's like, but they must be going through something. You need to step into the sales room, and even though you're paying a salary, you need to step into the sales room. And it's actually cheaper to pay her and stay home than leave her in the sales room, because right now, sales are double. She's made more money this month than she has in 4 months. So it's in all areas of the business, from displays that we ordered by mistake. Sometimes displays arrive, and I've seen this happen lots of times. They got damaged by a courier and they weren't good enough to give to a client. Well, if they're not good enough to give to a client, how can you put that up on the wall and project to your clients that you're running a scratch and dent sale? Like,
yeah, it's a mindset I can never understand. But Jeanine, you've seen this on both sides, right? Because across your career, you worked for Artletter as the Florida representative or client support or whatever that title was, and now you're a studio owner. So you know you've seen this on both sides. So what have you seen? What has been your experience?
From both sides, and I think I told you guys the story earlier. Like, I remember when I was a rep going into the studios throughout Florida. It was early 2000s, right? So there'd be samples up on the wall that were clearly from like the year I was born in the 70s. Like, you could just tell, you know, it had that red tint to it. It had like the dual exposures. It had the overlays. I mean, it was so obviously like 1976. It wasn't even funny. And I'm like, why is this on your wall? Oh, well, you know, clients love them. Like, clients loved it 30 years ago. Like, you're dating this display. Oh, well, and then you would get the cost. Well, you know, the cost to replace a sample is so high. Like, the cost to not replace it is so high. Are you kidding me? Like, people are walking in here laughing. And so it's, and I think oftentimes that's where it lies, right? And I can tell you, I have faced this myself, right? So in our design consultation room, we had a laptop that was working great until it didn't. And then all of a sudden, like, it would take an extra minute or 5 minutes or 10 minutes to load in a ProSelect file, right? It had trouble pulling it across the network. So my initial thought was like, okay, everybody get your ProSelect files in the morning. Then we don't have to worry about it. Because I was trying to not have to buy a laptop that day, right? I'm like, let's see if we can like limp along with this laptop. We'll just put our systems in place. Well, but
it's
then
got
of
5
course,
years left in it, Jeanine. An extra 5.
yeah,
You got
5
another
years
5
left in
years.
that laptop. And it just takes one client though, where the ProSelect file wasn't prepped. They came in and then we're waiting. And like, what a bad first impression to a client to have to wait 10 minutes to import their images. It was awful. And I was like, that's it. What am I doing? This is ridiculous. The fact that I even had to have my team redo their day by making the files in the morning, it was crazy. So that day I got online, I ordered the laptop, and I was done, right? So like, I understand, like, sometimes we try and limp along, but when you look at it in the way of, this is actually costing me money not to do it. Like, it's costing you money. And And it's interesting, like what I know we were talking about ProSelect to begin with, but I almost feel like sometimes people are begrudging helping like other businesses making money. Like why like if you want them to stay ahead, you want the technology to constantly improve, that takes money. Like it doesn't happen for free. People aren't programming for free. People aren't updating technology for free. It costs money to do that. So anyways, just a little side note. But yeah, no, I mean I see that like it's funny now I will spend money easily on things that make me money and I know will make money in the studio. Like Facebook ads, for example, right? Like right now we're in the middle of testing a bunch of different things. I'm not, oh, Jonathan, let's only test it like $10 a day. I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, no, let's go full force. Like they're going to get the bookings. We're going to get, and the more bookings you get, the more money you can spend. Why would you skimp on what it costs to get people into your studio? Same thing. Well, why would you skimp once they're in your studio on selling to them? Where I do skimp on the things that don't matter. Like I have a light stand that we take to our preschools that I have had since like 2001. A screw came out. Now it's held together with a zip tie. You know what? I'm like, I'm not buying a new, why do I need a new light stand? That one's fine. It works with a zip tie. No one at the daycare is going to say one way or another. So instead of spending $200 on that, I'll spend it on a Facebook ad to get more clients in. You know what I mean? So there are places that you can not waste money. And I think photographers get it in reverse. They'll spend so much money on camera equipment and lighting equipment and a new camera every year. And I'm still shooting most of the sessions in the studio with my D4. It's like 8 years old. It's fine. Like, I don't need a new camera. So it's like, where do you spend your money? I spend money on things that will make me money. Things that will bring more clients into the studio. Things, software and displays and everything that it will take to sell more to my existing clients. Another funny example I saw, not that we print catalogs, but I have seen other studios where they print catalogs. And I was in their studio and I was flipping through it. I'm like, you only sell this for X amount? Oh, that's a typo, but we don't want to reprint it. I'm like, so you're like, what are you doing? A Sharpie? I don't understand. Like, what? And they're like, well, to reprint I'm like, how much would it cost you to reprint the catalogs? $100? How much are you losing per sale because you won't change the price of that product?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I've seen like business cards that have old addresses on them because people don't want to reprint their business cards and they take a Sharpie to it or they just tell people that's my old address. I'm like, oh my God, it's $30 online to print some new business cards. Throw out the old business cards. You don't need to keep your old business cards. Keep one for a memory if you want. Toss the rest. It's unbelievable.
So what drives this block, this mindset position? Like, is the world made up of half people who are just like that and half aren't, and half are pessimists and half are optimists? Or is it?
It's amazing how when you are with somebody who has this mindset of, and it's a limited resource mindset that, particularly with, I don't want to say, they're looking at the cost of their leads and how much they're spending on Facebook and not really considering the opportunity that it brings them. It seems to be those are the people that seem to believe that none of their clients have money and that there's no good spenders and that they can't get good sales. And I think it's all intertwined with that limited belief. And you can't spend money you don't have. I don't believe in spending money you don't have. But it's those same people that, like there's one thing about spending money, but where they spend their time, right? I was talking to somebody a few weeks ago and they were complaining about how much they're spending on Facebook. But then when I asked them, well, have you called all the leads that have come in and how expensive Facebook is? And they had something like 180 leads that they hadn't called. And it's, they're a week or two behind. That's expensive. That's what's expensive, that you're not prioritizing calling those leads, and they're spending time redoing their website, and they're spending time learning about this brand new action that they want to create. And meanwhile, they're complaining about how much their leads are costing, but they're not, we don't get time back. And I think how we spend our time is really important, and prioritizing that time. And it's similar to what you were talking about, Jeanine. You'll spend money on what makes you money, but we have to treat our time with the same care as if, money was, flowing out of a bag, and direct it to where you want to, where is it going? Yeah, our time is money. It is. And it's also sacrificing how many people we can help through photography, because we're waiting 2 or 3 weeks and then those leads become ineffective, and it's harder to get a hold of people when you wait 2 or 3 weeks. They've forgotten that they've filled out a form 3 weeks ago. So it all gets a lot harder.
So I'm trying to figure out, are you born with this or do you learn it? So like, do you think that knowledge of business has an impact on this? Like, where people think they know about business, and business is about cutting costs and beating up your suppliers when prices have to go up, and not upgrading to the latest software because actually the current one will do and it'll save me money, when it's not actually saving money, it's costing you money. Is that it? Is it this knowledge of understanding, like you look at it, Jeanine, through the lens of, will this make me money? Or is it costing me money not to? Is that, or is it that? I know I'm asking loads of questions to get it out, but I'm just asking questions that come into my head. So is it that because that side of the business doesn't excite me, but what excites me is the latest camera? Is it that, that I want to keep all my money for what excites me rather than what channeling my excitement into making a difference to my client? And they reward me for that with money, where you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, it's gone from $30 a month to $35 a month. The world is ending.
I think we've been sold that we need this prop, we need the brand new camera. The clients are judging whether you're a professional photographer or not by the size of your lens and the type of camera that you're using. And the camera companies are selling it to us. The industry's selling it to us about, which camera I'm using. The first thing you tend to get asked is, what camera are you using? And it's a pissing competition. Really? The clients, really? Do they care? They don't. So, in a lot of cases, I think it's been sold to us as an industry that it's important. If you buy this lens, you'll make more money. If you buy this extra speed light, you'll make more money. If you buy this extra diffuser, it'll make you more money. But how many are sitting in the drawer that are not being used? And, are you using it? Is it making you more efficient? Are you creating something that is different enough to the client that the client can see? Sure, have it for fun, have something because you enjoy doing it for you, but is it going to impact the client? Will they be able to see that you've created something completely different with that extra attachment, or that extra speed light, or that extra lens, or more depth of field? Do they see that?
So I think, Steve, what you're saying, or this is my interpretation anyway of it, is that what we use to measure success in our industry is misplaced. That when we're interacting with our fellow photographers, what's going to impress them and lead them to believe I'm successful is if I've got the latest camera, if I've got the latest lights, if I've won that award, if I've done this, if I've done that. Nothing about making an impact in the world, nothing about making a difference to your client, nothing about creating a sustainable, profitable business. None of that seems to matter in this mindset.
Or how much time you get to take off. Because busyness has become, the new currency for success too. That's part of it too. I'm so busy. Well, I love it when our members say, I'm now working 4 days a week and are earning 4 times the money than I ever had before. Or that, this is my 4th holiday this year. And, it's the first time that I've had a holiday, for decades. That's success, being able to take the time to do that. So I think defining what success is, I think you're right. It's about defining what is success, and we've been lied to about what's important.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Jonathan, you're very quiet. You're quietly there in observation, absorbing it all like a sponge. So what have you got to add?
Nothing. I mean, I'm just taking it all in.
Surely you see it with ads when you're helping people with their ads.
No, I think part of the issue is a lack of commercial awareness about like what's actually important in business. Lack of ability to understand and analyze numbers. So I think there's a skill set gap there, but it's also a mentality, as we discussed. But it can be hard too. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, day to day, and you haven't had a client in for 3 months, it's hard. It's not easy. So there's a balance too with we're not saying like, oh, you need to go splash the cash, because that's just reckless and stupid. But it's tough. It's not easy.
I think it's more about where, prioritizing where you splash the cash. If you do have money to spend, well, where's that priority? Where's the priority lie? And for something, that is going to make you more efficient, give you back time, give you the time to serve one more client. That's a huge opportunity.
I think, Ronan, going back to your question on are you born with it? I don't think it's a born with it type thing, but it is more of a where do people come into this industry from? And I think so many come into this industry from an art background or because they like photography, not from a business background. And so they already start with that, scarcity mentality. They start with a feast or famine type way of looking at it. When they have clients, they'll spend. When they don't have clients, they don't spend. And it's like this seesaw, this up and down, because they didn't come at it with how to run a business and how to book and how to spend money to make money, like all the different business backgrounds that people running businesses have, or an education that they have. They're coming at it because they like the art. They like to make people feel good with their photographs, and they love the photography. And so they have to learn the business aspect if they didn't come into it from a business type training. And so it's unpredictable, right? So like if they're coming at it from if like they had a 9-to-5 job ahead of time, like they left their 9-to-5 where they were getting a steady paycheck every 2 weeks. Someone else was doing all of the work of getting the clients and getting the business. They were just clocking in and clocking out and getting paid. Now, oh, well, shoot, I'm responsible for all of this. And so it's
a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
It's a lot to learn. And there's nothing wrong with being, an employee. Nothing.
No.
I've hired photographers and there's nothing wrong with working as a photographer for someone where you don't have all that responsibility.
So I read all the time that, and this might link into this too, where they say photography, the barrier to entry as a business is low. I would argue it's not low. I would argue it's very, very high in terms of the skill sets you need to learn to be able to run a successful business.
Yeah.
But it's, I think that's out there too. If I have a camera, I have a business, I can call myself a professional. Well, you can't call yourself a doctor unless you go to medical school for 7 years and you pass all the medical exams and you spend time as an apprentice as a locum, or whatever they call them, the doctors in the hospital, junior doctors, and then you become a senior doctor, and then you might become a consultant. Like that's not in our industry. That even thought process is not in our industry. The only thought process in our industry is the better photographer you become by entering awards and getting merits will make you a better business person.
Well, and even for some, the guilt around charging for their work. That artists like struggle, and artists, you know what I mean? Like that they're a struggling artist, and that's how you're a good artist. Yeah. I had that. Like, so I had a friend who was a photographer, like an artsy photographer. We'll just to distinguish, right? And I wouldn't say put me down for charging for my work. We got into an interesting discussion about it. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, do you not want to eat? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and they said I was selling out, right? That I was selling out by running my photography as a business. And I'm like,
So who should pay you?
I know. It's interesting, right?
So who should pay you? Maybe someday universal income will come in, and then you can do all the art you want.
That's a different podcast, Ronan.
All the taxpayers will pay you. But
I think it's interesting too, because I think there is those. You guys have read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Like, there's the generational money beliefs too. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. That's all my dad, my mom, my brothers, my uncle, like everybody. They were immigrants to the country. They started their own businesses. My grandfather was a barber. Like everybody started a business, and that was the generational beliefs I grew up in. Was that we start businesses, we make money, we work. You work hard, you work smart, and this is what you do. Other people don't grow up that way, and so breaking out of generational beliefs about money is not easy.
No. So you are conditioned, Ronan.
So
I don't think you're born with it. I think it's a conditioning.
Yeah.
Well, you were born into it then.
Born into it. Conditioning. And if you were conditioned that way, you have to work to break out of that mindset.
Yes.
You have that choice to make.
Yeah. But it's very hard it's practically impossible to have a successful business unless you do break out of it, unless you get really, really lucky.
But often you need that mentor, that person that can, fuel that trajectory for you in many cases.
And Jonathan, the beauty about the Difference Maker Revolution is you don't just get one mentor or one coach, you get 4. Tell us, I want to build a business, I want to be successful, I want to understand it's all about making it about my clients. What do I do?
Well, the first step is you hope and pray as you begin to speak that Ronan has muted himself, and he has, which is great. So once you've done that, what you need to do is you need to join the Inner Circle. So the Inner Circle is our community of thriving, don't even want to call them photographers, thriving difference makers who are making a huge difference in their communities and in the lives of their clients, and being rewarded very well for it. So all you need to do is click the link below to join an Inner Circle, and we can't wait to see you in this amazing community.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.